You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to learn more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com, where we have past podcasts, blogs, and a couple items for sale. So check us out, beardedtheologians.com. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this week's show. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks.
And Zach Bechtold.
So this week on the podcast, we had to pivot. We were getting ready to record, and this really should be the word for 2020 is pivot. And the pivot meme of Ross from Friends should be like the gif of 2020, because this has been a year of pivoting.
Well, technically, probably the couch after the pivoting is the meme for
That's
2020.
That's so true. But, we've had to pivot. We had to pivot at Easter, and this has been a year of pivoting and making adjustments, and sometimes making those adjustments on the fly because of a positive test case at the last minute. Or like in our case today, we were getting ready to record, and I had a phone call from Ashley saying, hey, they're going to quarantine Emily, you need to come pick her up. And so we had to quickly pivot for the podcast today. And so we're going to talk about pivoting during Christmas and how we've gone about it and what we're trying to do. And maybe this might inspire you and think about your plans for Christmas if you haven't already made them. I think now's the time. You only have 14 days to do something. And so please keep that in mind. And so, Zach, how are you planning on pivoting this year for Christmas, your congregation?
Yeah. I look at pivoting. I grew up playing basketball. And I think a lot of time, especially right now, the word pivoting, right? It's getting a bad rap, right? Oh man, I gotta pivot, whatever. And I learned through basketball that pivoting's the best thing you can do, right? If you do it right and do it well, it's a tool that you have to open up for more shots, to open up for passes, to make space for the unexpected. And sometimes pivoting is just that. And so I kind of view pivoting as that way rather than dang, we got to pivot at the last minute. It's, well, here are the tools that we have. And so let's pivot and see what opens up and what we can do with it. And for us, we have been a strictly digital church for a while now. Our cases in our county here in Wyoming aren't great, so we're doing the best that we can do to one, serve our community, but keep our community safe at the same time. And so that's been high priority for us. And for Christmas Eve, that's no different. I have the desire, like anybody else, to come and have a sanctuary full of people, to tell the stories, to read the scriptures, to light the candles. And yet it's not what we need to do right now. It's not the safest thing we can do right now. And so we're going to continue to be digital and put together a really wonderful digital service for our folks. And one thing we've done in that pivoting is opening up the sanctuary during the week on Wednesdays for communion and letting people come in, when there's nobody else in the building, and spend time in the sanctuary, receive communion, but also take a Christmas Eve candle with them, so that they have their candle and can light it at the end of the Christmas Eve service with us. And so that's been really, really beautiful and really fun. But I think for me, because I've been kicking around, well, what can we do? How can we do this? Can we allow a few people in? And I did a COVID funeral on Monday. That wasn't a church funeral. It was a community member that needed a pastor, and the family stressed to me, can you please remind people how important putting a mask on is, how important just doing the right thing is, because we lost our dad and he had to die alone. And, him and my mom were married, or him and his widow were married 51 years. And she had to say goodbye to him over FaceTime. And that was a really timely reminder for me of, you know what? It's just not worth having to be in the sanctuary, having to do it the way we've always done it. Because if we have to have it that way, we'll be doing more of those types of services, more so than we already have.
I think for me, obviously we were the first church in town to operate differently and have continued to operate in that way for the last 11 months now, actually 12 or 10 months. And while those decisions have been hard, we don't want to put a burden on our community, and that's something I've been honest about since day one. I don't want to put a burden on our medical community and that kind of community. I don't want to do any COVID funerals. We've lost 3 members due to COVID, either because they had COVID and passed from COVID, or they had COVID and that complicated their lives and it led to them dying. And our church, and I know this is like I know people see this as the tacky mission of the Methodist Church, is to be a church of open hearts, open minds, and open doors. But one of the things that I've come to realize, especially over the last few weeks, so that when that conversation has been had, is that that's our mission. And I don't feel like if we opened our doors, it's the best thing for our community. And so, because we are a church that strives to have open hearts, open minds, and open doors, and that's something this church does very well. It was hard for me to say we need to do Christmas Eve differently this year, especially now. We're in a place where people have kind of gotten used to protocol and stuff like that, and but it just takes one asymptomatic person to cause a whole lot of headaches for your pastor. And so, in conversation with my medical team, I have a medical team because I see so many medical doctors right now with some of the issues that I've been dealing with, and that are not connected to my church. They've really thanked me for not opening. But I use open in a sense of being physically present. The church has never been closed because we've been doing amazing things throughout this time, and the church has pivoted very well to digital. Could we do better and more? Yes. And people are starting to engage that. And I feel like I'm becoming a Best Buy Geek Squad person on the fly and visiting with people and meeting with people all the time. To get, to help them out. And that's a great ministry for me. I mean, that's something I love to do. And so this year for Christmas, when I was kind of putting a plan together for people to talk about, and we're going to continue doing it the digital way that we've been doing. Hopefully by the end of next week, I will have Christmas Eve already recorded and edited and put together, because I've been ahead of the game. And some of that is that I'm anticipating having hip surgery. And so I want to have everything done. If they come back and say, hey, Matt, we want to do the service on December the 20th. We want to do your surgery on December the 23rd. I'll be ready to go. I won't have to worry about anything and stress about anything, because those times will be taken care of. But one of the things I've done differently this Christmas Eve that I haven't ever done before is I usually at Christmas Eve, and I don't know if Zach does this or not, but I trim back my staff on stage because I don't, I want people to enjoy their families and all stuff. But this year it's actually a little bit opposite. I actually have more voices in the service this year than I've ever had before. And I think it's going to be a really good service. One of the cool things that we're doing this year is at the end of the service, when the service is done, when we sing Joy to the World at the end, we will have however many long time it takes, how many people send me videos of them saying Merry Christmas, or Merry Christmas from so-and-so's family. And that's going to be tagged at the end of the video. I'm really excited about that. I've enjoyed the one. I've only gotten one so far, and it was from one of our oldest church members who had their neighbor come and shoot the video for us, and it melted my heart. And so, the good thing about this, if you're working on it now, you can do some really cool things with the videos if you pre-record, and if you decide to do live too. There are a lot of things you can do with that too. And that pivoting, I think that pivoting is important. For where we are, and that's a country thing. That's not just a local thing, because Zach's in Wyoming and I'm in Oklahoma, and we're both it's not good, and our health and medical professionals are so stretched and so hurting. And something that Zach and I kind of talked about earlier in the week, I think one thing that gets left out of the equation in regards to the conversation is the funeral home directors, and the work that they're having to do, and so man, if you're listening and you're praying that, you're a praying kind of person, pray for our healthcare workers and our funeral directors, because they are really ragged right now. And so, that's kind of, we're going to pivot. Everything will continue to be digital. We've got some really cool things planned, Blue Christmas, and a hymn sing and some other little things that we're going to do along the way. And, that's, all that stuff. Like, we want to encourage you to do that because that's the right thing to do right now.
Well, and I think the whole idea of it, right, is redefining or reclaiming what pivoting means for you, and that it's not this, God, I got to do this. It's, hey, here's what we do on the fly, and here's where we're ready to go. Here are the tools that we have, and how do we make it the best that we can? And sometimes the ball gets stolen, right? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you miss a shot. But that's part of pivoting. It's giving yourself the best chance that you have to do the best thing you can do. And so rather than seeing pivoting as a burden, as this draws on, sometimes it feels that way, but it also opens us up to another tool in our bag, to learning something new, to doing something different. And that's never a bad thing. That's always a good thing, and always teaches us something new, whether we fail or succeed. And so it's 1 year. And it may teach you something for the next year that you want to do and start a new tradition or start a new thing, and it may teach you something you don't want to do moving forward, whatever that may be. But be willing to plant that foot and pivot around and see what opens up for you.
I have to admit, I'm really a little excited about Christmas Eve, the service structure, so much so that I like yesterday when I was getting ready to record somebody else and I was waiting for them to show up. I definitely reminded myself, like, I actually have to do a sermon during this. Like, I have to preach during this, and I'm really excited about all the voices that we have, and thinking about that. And I would encourage you, just find ways that you can take care for your people, and please do it in the safest way that you can. And realize that you're called to be a light, and so how we be that witness, and that's, to me, this whole thing. And I've been honest with people since day one. This is a community witness. And so I would much rather be known as a church who cares for our community and will do whatever it can to lessen the burden on our community than to be a church where people struggle and, like, I don't know if I'd ever want to go there because, they're not doing the right things. And so I think that's important to think about. I want to encourage you that, I can't encourage you enough, as someone who, we still are reeling from the loss of a couple big people in our community. I can't urge you enough to wear a mask, wash your hands, practice safe distancing, and please do that. That's an act of love, if you ask me. And so, Zach, anything else you want to thinking about as you're
you all hang in there, whether you're preparing to lead a Christmas Eve service, whether you're preparing to go to a Christmas Eve service, and however you're going to do that, know that you can tune into either of ours. They'll be all over the social medias come the day, come the time. And just know that you are not alone in this, that you are loved, that there's a lot going on. And take care of yourselves in all the ways that you need to this season.
And for those of you that are laity, that are trying to figure out what to do or how to have a conversation with your pastor, one thing I want to encourage you to think about is finding some extra special ways that you care for your team that does the worship, if it's a virtual experience or if it's a live experience, because that's a tough thing. And those people are running ragged, and just showing them some love. I had someone bring me some fudge the other day, and they're just like, oh, like this hits the spot. And it didn't last but a day.
I'd encourage Matt's congregation to stop bringing him fudge. Helping or hurting church.
Well, okay, so bring me healthy snacks after the surgery, and then let me bulk up so that way I can dwindle away when I'm not doing anything. We want to encourage you, go to our website at beardedtheologians.com and check out we have some really great content. It's hard to believe that we'll be starting year 5 here pretty shortly. And it's been an amazing run, and we've really enjoyed this and enjoyed all the people that have come on and the relationships that we've built through this. And, just please engage with us. We noticed last week that there were a couple of people that you engaged with about your hymns and your favorite hymns. And that was really a fun conversation to have. Encourage you to keep keep engaged. So go to our website, pick up some gear. If you order it now, you may get it by Epiphany, which is still within the 12 days of Christmas. Really good gift to send to people that that love theology and maybe have a beard, or maybe don't have a beard and love theology. I mean, I think it could work for both. And so do all that at beardedtheologians.com. And so for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtel. Thanks for checking us out.
First, guys, I want you to subscribe and like this video and push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.